Hello there folks, and welcome back to another video. In this one we're going to be having a look at the big new announcement that came out for Warhammer Quest and Darkwater, which is the next edition in the Warhammer Quest series from the folks at Games Workshop. Of course, we've had Warhammer Quest, which is obviously the older game in the series, which was spawned out of Hero Quest. We've also then have that come back with Warhammer Quest Silver Tower. Then there was Shadows over Hammerhall. Then there was Blackstone Fortress. Then we had Curse City. And now we are back with a new one, which is Warhammer Quest Darkwater. So I thought I'd just play the trailer to get us started with this one so we can have a look at it. So, yes, still got the same heroes in there that we've seen previously being revealed and all that kind of stuff, which is cool. Alongside some very nice new monstrous foes for us to battle against too, which I think is quite nice. But there's a few little tweaks and twists here with this one that I think will be very different for folks diving into it. Namely that game book, actually, which I thought was quite interesting. So it'll be fun to dive in and see exactly how this all works when we finally get a closer look at the rules and everything for the game. But seems like a good start, and of course this was just a little bit of the preview that came out for Warhammer Quest. So yes, we are heading to the Jade Abbey, which is where we're going to be going with this particular quest, to battle against the Demon Prince Gelgus Pust, the Prince of Sores. So yes, the Jade Abbey, a lifelink for Sigmarites and, more importantly, Alarielle, the Everqueen herself. And in this one, we're going to be diving into a 1 to 4 player game where you take on the role of various heroes, working together cooperatively against the game itself. So an inbuilt AI, which is something we've seen from previous versions of Warhammer Quest, going up against all sorts of nasty monsters and things inside there. I will say the actual box contents look pretty good. I've got more to say on the book itself later on, obviously, but I think it's a great little step forward in the right direction for Warhammer Quest, and I'll explain why. But I think we should start off with the miniatures, I suppose. So we have Edmark Valoran, the Manticore Knight. So he's a knight who was blasted by Axion Realmstone at some point, so it's embedded in his skin, which drives him towards various bouts of rage when he's on the battlefield, which I think is quite cool. So he's kind of coming in as your kind of knight, but also sort of a berserker at the same time, I suppose, if you wanted to twin it towards past Warhammer Quest, Hero Quest style archetypes. We then have Bren Tillis, who's the Renegade Saint. So Bren is a descendant of one of the saints that was one of the defenders of the Jade Abbey, and so she stole into a temple, managed to pick out the armor of her ancestor and her weapon of choice, as you can see there, that big sword, and is now almost a reluctant renegade saint, heading out to try and cleanse the abbey. We then have Inara Scion, who is the Cleansing Blade, as you can see here, going along with that kind of vibe of sort of cleansing the Nurgle Wrath. She has this magical sword, which is actually made out of sort of solidified water, almost. This aqua gyranis, I suppose you'd say, that she's using to wield her sword and her spells. So she has that access to it, which I think is quite nice. And she's obviously looking there to try and cleanse the temple of the enemy. We then have Drolf Ironhead, who's one of my favourites. He's a dwarf. He's one of the ancestors of the survivors of, or some of his kin at one point died during the defence of Jade Abbey. And now he's coming to get some revenge against Gelgus and kick ass and take some names. Why would you not want to play the dwarf? He's badass. He even has a little bit of a crossbow on his back, which is cool. Those are the 4 heroes that were revealed initially, and you'll see that they are also the ones on the box art. But there's more than just those 4 heroes, because you can also call on the aid of a few more characters. So we have Kelthanor, the Forest Prince, who is one of the Kurnothi, who we've seen popping up quite a lot. They were available as part of the newer set for Warhammer Underworlds, and also a brand new, well, we've also seen them popping up in other Underworld stuff as well, which I think is quite nice. So it's nice to see another Kurnothi character, maybe a hint towards them becoming a full faction of their own. maybe alongside the Sylvaneth in a new book or something in the near future. Very cool indeed. So Kelthanor pledged himself to destroy the mightiest of creatures, and that happens to be Gelgus Pust, so that's why Prince Kelthanor is heading off to do that. You then have Drashar Vaughn, the rampaging beast, so he's got a little bit of that kind of Gurish beast wizard style vibe to him, which I think is quite nice. Let's see some of his things. So chief of a tribe of shape-shifting warriors from Gur, who worship the aspect of the Everqueen they call the Maker of Beasts, set out to cure his people from a mutative curse. Looking rather cool. Love the idea of that. Might be my second choice in terms of characters. Very nice indeed. And then we have Jacobus Vine, the Jade Wizard. So again, latching onto that idea of Gairan and Wild and all that kind of thing, walking around on those little vines and stuff like that, which is very cool, with his lovely staff, which is twinned with the earth around him, matched by a couple of his familiars as well, as you can see there. So Jacobus Vine, or Jacobus, is a Jade Wizard dedicated to fighting against entropy and decay. He travels with a spiked owl, and the Vulpine forest spirit he calls Whisper. Ooh, very cool. So a couple of awesome characters on that side there. We actually got a few more close-ups of them as well. So there's Drolf Ironhead, the Grizzled Explorer, Bren Tillis, the Renegade Saint, Inara Scion, the Cleansing Blade, Edmark Valoran, the Manticore Knight, Kelthanor, the Forest Prince, Drashar Vaughn, the Rampaging Beast. Oh, he's so cool. Going to be really fun to paint him. Jacobus Vine, the Jade Wizard, and Whisper. So yes, a really nice little selection of heroes for you to sink your teeth into there. On the other side of things, we have the deadly foes that you'll be coming up against. So they are actually led by Gelgus Pust, who is the Prince of Sores. Once a holy man corrupted by an insatiable lust for power, by committing his soul to the plague god Nurgle, he earns strength far beyond that of a mortal, and now seeks to repay his master by corrupting the Everspring and thus scoring a savage blow against Alariel in the war for the control of Gairan. Absolutely amazing miniature. Love the style of the armour and his sort of rotted accoutrements. Really cool weapons. Love that big slab of a sword with the faces of his enemies sort of etched into it. I like that he's got a cheeky grin as well. I think it'd be interesting to see how that paints up differently with a sort of darker look to it, but very cool. And as was pointed out in the preview, you've got those antlers as well coming off the top, so it kind of gives that sort of hint back to Gairan, and it's sort of like a twisted, macabre version of all that Alariel holds true. And then there's even sort of like a twisted crown atop his head as well, which I think is a really nice little touch there. You then have Belga, the Cyst Witch. So she was one of the defenders of the Jade Abbey. She was one of the sort of matrons, the sisters that worked there, but she was always scheming and looking for power. And so Gelga, the Cyst Witch, was given all sorts of terrible powers by Nurgle, grandfather Nurgle, and so has now been turned into this maggoty looking creation that we see there. You can even see one of her sisters, I suppose, holding onto the pot, and apparently there's another one somewhere else. That'll be really fun to see. Oh, there she is. So it's sort of 3 in 1, which is very cool. Very Macbeth on acid, which I think is quite nice. You then have Mulgoth the Cleaver. So Morgoth the Cleaver, a loyal servant of Pust who takes great pleasure in destroying beauty and breaking the spirits of virtuous heroes. Very cool. Love that kind of big mutated arm with the sign of Gairan on it there as well. Again, the armor design's really nice for these, and I love all the weapons and all that kind of thing. These are going to be absolutely amazing to paint. I can't wait to get these onto the painting table. Definitely going to be buying this game. And then you have Shaman Falhoof, who is the leader of the Pestigors. So the Pestigors are a new addition, or a returning addition, I suppose, to Warhammer Quest here. We've seen Zangors in the past with the previous version of Warhammer Quest with Silver Tower. So now we're getting Pestigors. So Beastmen haven't been completely ousted from Warhammer Age of Sigmar and the Mortal Realms. They're still here. So obviously, as you might imagine, Shaman Falhoof is here to lead the Pestigors in their despoiling of everything that the Jade Abbey held dear back in the day. You then have some really cool additional miniatures that you like the Cankerborn, rare demons created when hideous violence is conducted against the land itself. Creatures twice the height of a plague bearer, clawing themselves free from the churning ground. Their leathery skin and rocky, filth-encrusted hides make them incredibly resilient, and their mere presence corrupts their surroundings. Again, super cool, amazing design. Remind me a little bit of Fell Beasts from the Albion days of Warhammer Fantasy Battles, which I think is really cool, especially with the kind of cairns and stuff on their back and the moss and the roots and that kind of thing. Really love the design of those. Again, brilliant looking weaponry going on there too, and the 3 heads of the plague bearers there of Nurgle matching the 3 sort of bubo that you get in the design of Nurgle's icon. Super cool. You then have the Blight Templars, who are a little bit of an extension of the kind of Rot Knights, the what are they called there? The sort of knights that you see in sort of normal Nurgle armies. The Blight Templars were mortal champions that have been absorbed and twisted, so they would have once guarded the Jade Abbey, but now they've been turned into killers fighting for the nasty grandfather Nurgle. The other thing that's really nice about these miniatures, I think, as well, is that they're going to be super easy to paint. You could get away with a lot of speed paints on these. You do some really nice metallics on those and then just weather them down, and then use speed paints or contrast paints to get all of the skin and all that blending together really nicely. I think it would look really good, and you get some nice sore, rotting flesh very easily, and those rusted weapons are going to be an absolute gem if you can get some nice rust effects on those. And then you have the rank and file that you'll be fighting off against as well. So you have the Pox Wretches. Think of them as your sort of marauders, your sort of mortal warriors fighting alongside the forces of Nurgle. Pox Wretches are those taking their first steps on the path of entropy. They wear the cyclopean masks that rob them of sight, instead using their sense of smell and taste to hunt down those that have not been enhanced by Nurgle's gifts. Really cool little set of figures there. Lots of interesting little twists, like the club foots and things like that, to kind of take them in different directions. Lots of different weapon choices as well in there too, which I think is quite nice. And I can't see any duplicates. I suppose that's the same sort of pose, but they've kind of mixed and matched the weapons and the legs and things. So yeah, a really nice set of unique figures for you to be using as the kind of rank and file of the army. And then you've also got the Pestigors. So I mentioned them already. So they're going to be fighting underneath that Pestigor shaman that we saw before. A really nice little touch on those, playing around with some really cool ideas. That kind of dead-looking goat underneath the masks. Lots of big, full bellies, swirling tattoos, aching sores, weeping pustulous growths and all that kind of thing, and then plenty of rusty weaponry as well for good measure, which is always nice to see. And then you have a few little extra bits and pieces. So you have the Maya Kelpies too. So these are little sort of like spirits born of the destitution that has befallen the Jade Abbey. Very nice little set of creatures there. No Nurglings, but I suppose this could be the kind of Nurgling equivalent with the Maya Kelpies. And once again, big new miniatures for us to have a look at here as well. So there's Gelgus Pust, the Prince of Sores, Belga the Cyst Witch, and Shaman Foulhooth, looking absolutely amazing. Really cool design. I think both Warhammer Age of Sigmar and Necromunda are some of the best miniatures designed from Games Workshop over the last little while. These guys are so awesome. There's lots of people who are really into Nurgle but don't want to make a full army. This is a great direction for you to go, I reckon. Going to see some nice conversions of those into Chaos Space Marine Terminators, I would imagine, as well. Changing out those melee weapons, I would think. The Cankerborn, your sort of troll-like creatures for you to throw into the mix. Really cool on those as well. Lots of opportunities for blending on all the painting there. The Pestigors, looking super awesome. And again, not too much in the way of repeat sculpts. You've got similar bodies, like there and there, but obviously they've changed up sort of the accessories that each of those figures have. So they're a little bit different, which is good to see. So yeah, well, yeah, you've got sort of like couple of dupes in their kind of style, but then obviously updated them and tweaked them with lots of additional bits and pieces. And then the pox wretches themselves, your gibbering hordes charging forward. Going to have a lot of fun painting these. Seems like there's not too much to get done, especially when compared to Curse City, but yes, very cool indeed. I suppose then we should now actually start talking about the game itself. So will be same sort of box size, it seems, as what we got for Curse City. You'll get 14 Warhammer Quest dice, so a new set of thematic dice, a 38-page rulebook and a quick start guide, 61 cardboard tokens, 12 card deck boxes for storing your progress, so a save system, which is familiar from a lot of other board games at the moment, and 341 cards that cover your abilities, status, equipment, rewards, events, and act-specific surprises, as well, of course, your character cards and all that kind of thing as well. The thing that I really like is this hardback map book. Now, a lot of people have looked at this and they've said, well, it's not a dungeon crawler because you're not using tiles. And I say to them, have the amount of time that you spend having to go through and pick out tiles and build a board and all that kind of thing, it's a pain in the ass, especially for big, long campaign style games. And so having the book format is a really, really good touch. It worked super well for Jaws of the Lion, which is a sort of smaller offshoot of Gloomhaven and Frosthaven, and was a really, really nice way for you to sort of add in dungeon delving style adventures without having too much sort of downtime between quests. The other thing that makes this work is that, as they've said in the article, the way that this works is that you have the so let's open up one of these. I suppose actually would be a good idea. So yeah, so you have the tile, well, the book pages, and this represents a section of the Jade Abbey, but you'll have different encounters in here based on cards you draw. So yes, you will only have X amount of how many pages did it say it is? Does it say how many? It doesn't specifically say how big it is. There you go, a 38-page hardback map book, right? So you've got 18 maps in there made up of 2 pages, and they're transformed by the cards you draw, giving them multiple uses. So yes, it's not a traditional put tiles down style dungeon crawler, but I think this is a really good way for them to not only get more bang for your buck out of the game itself, and make it a little easier for them to produce as well at the same time, but also not rob you as the player of the luxury of time, because time is something we don't necessarily all have. And I think one of the main things that's come out of this is that I think this means that we are actually going to be able to sit down and play Warhammer Quest Darkwater. It's really hard to justify the time to sit down and play something like Blackstone Fortress or Silver Tower or Curse City with friends, especially if a game's going to take you 2 to 3 hours to play, only for you then to have, you know, an hour of that or something then spent setting it up, taking it down, and that kind of thing. Because they've gone down the route of this kind of being able for you to dive in, open the book, draw a card to determine how to actually start playing the game, what quest you're doing, and just dive in. Now, they have said that it'll only take you about 30 minutes to play some of the missions, the quests, the encounters in this. I think that is a Games Workshop over-exaggeration, because everything they say that can be done in 40 minutes to an hour is definitely not true, unless you're just playing fast and loose with the rules. But I do like that they're sort of giving you the option here with this, that you can maybe get in 2 or 3 quests over the course of an evening rather than just one, as would normally be the case. It's very much more in line with the look and feel of Warhammer Underworlds in its kind of design. Obviously, you've got the hex-based stuff there. There is obviously scope for them to do some really interesting things when it comes to providing sort of add-on, sit-on 2.5D terrain. They could do nice little hex sets to kind of enhance Warhammer Quest. That could be really fun for those people who want it. But it'll be really fascinating to see how this all sort of comes together and sort of how it plays out. As you can see, you've got a couple of different quests there that show you the victory conditions and that kind of thing of what you're going to be doing on a quest and sort of how you set up as well. I think from the look of it, You've got some little zones where I guess heroes would go, or sort of entry points there. And then you've got little different places where you've got sort of hazardous terrain there, blocking terrain or difficult terrain. That would make sense with that kind of thing. And then obviously there's other things that block, which is quite cool. But yeah, I think it'll be really fun seeing sort of what people do with this and sort of how it comes together as a game. It does look like they've somewhat simplified the hero dashboards for this, so they're not the same as Warhammer Quest Silver Tower or Curse City or Blackstone Fortress. You appear to instead have a health tracker rather than the squares where you'd put your dice, and then it looks like you've got a save value of 5+. That's your health, which you can see represented there. The D6, maybe that's the attack dice that you roll, and then you've got your sort of like your various skills and things there as well. Be interested to see how they work, and then of course your abilities. There's your actual sort of actions that you'll do, so there's your reminder cards, which is quite cool. So it does seem a little bit more fast and loose compared to other Warhammer Quest games in the series, but considering the palaver that they've had when it comes to other games, I think this is a really nice little touch. I would imagine this is the initiative tracker, probably. So that's going to be tokens that would represent your heroes, perhaps. And then this will be when a enemy group activates, and then that will tell you when a turn happens. I would imagine it'll go through and it'll end the turn, and then this will move on one space, and then that'll be, you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 turns maybe to complete a quest, which is very much in keeping with the idea of it only being a half an hour style thing. But yes, this is all obviously speculation, but I think I'm kind of on the money with where they're going with this one. It'll be fun and interesting to hear what people think themselves in the comments down below. But yeah, I am really looking forward to what they do with Warhammer Quest Darkwater. I think this is going to be really cool. Hopefully it comes in at a reasonable price point. I'm thinking maybe £120 for this one, although maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised. Really like all the heroes. It looks like you'll be starting off with those 4 here. So Edmark, Bren, Inara, and Sion and Drolf. And then from there you'll unlock the ability to use Jacobus, Drashar, and Kelthanor, which is quite cool. So yes, 3 remain to be unlocked over the course of your games. And then of course you have the fact that you're going to be diving in and sort of playing those campaigns and things like that, which would be really cool. So if you want something meaty, you can play the whole story in about 10 to 14 hours over multiple days, or 1 marathon session if you bring the stacks. Very cool. And lots of replay value in there, because you could go to different maps and see different things, which would be really fun. But yeah, I am excited for Warhammer Quest Darkwater. I think this one's going to be super fun, and I can't wait to see what Games Workshop do with this and how much it is, really. But yeah, I am sold. Please let me know in the comments down below what you think of Warhammer Quest Darkwater and whether or not you'll be picking it up. But yeah, dive into the comments, like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I'll be back with you folks in another video very, very soon. Bye for now.